Welcome one and all to a long-awaited episode of Verdant Ride.
You may notice something a bit different today. Yes, my dear friends, I am not Stephan. You see, because he realized he'd be forced to add the voice-over to this episode in post, he decided he might as well hire someone with a voice possessing a bit more refinement than his own. And perhaps while I might lack the familiar charm of his Minnesota accent, I'll hopefully make up for it with
A voice that's a tad more distinguished.
Brace yourselves, for we are diving headfirst into the long-anticipated Flite Ultra L2, the creme de la creme of eFoil technology, a direct competitor to the much-celebrated Lift4 Pro. The stakes are high, the debate heated, and our dear host, Stephan, he'll be riding the Flite Ultra L2 all day, testing its performance, its handling, and its very soul. This is the first of what we're calling the Verdant Ride Integrity Trials, a series of head-to-head battles between the top 4 eFoil brands: Lift, Flite,
Sci-Fly,
and Waydo. Should each of these eFoil manufacturers be brave and smart enough to respond to our request for an opportunity to demo their fastest and most agile boards, they will be tested and evaluated by Stephan himself. But let's get one thing straight. This isn't just about brands. This is about integrity, about honest feedback, fair testing, and real opinions from someone who knows how to push a board to its very limit. Sit back, relax, and join us as we embark on this thrilling journey. And with that, I shall let Stephan's real thoughts speak for themselves via the medium of my best efforts to capture his expressive descriptions of the ride in question. The integrity trials are upon us. Let's start with introducing our featured board today. The Flite Ultra L2, a sleek and innovative offering from Flite Board designed to push the boundaries of eFoil technology, remarkably lightweight at just 14.3 pounds. This setup includes the Wave 1000C front wing with the Flow 245C stabilizer, mounted on an 80cm Jet 2 conical mast. It's worth mentioning that the jet configuration isn't ideal for a perfect apples-to-apples comparison. Ideally, we'd prefer a fixed prop with no safety shroud, but beggars cannot be choosers, can they? The Flite Ultra L2 sports an elegantly simple 2-wire battery compartment, a feature that would have been considered innovative prior to the release of the cable-less Lift 5. Now, I suppose that having any wires at all is considered quite antiquated by the Flite boys, who chided me endlessly whenever I dared show the internals of my Lift 4. Comparing batteries, the Flite Cell Sport weighs in lighter at approximately 23.5 pounds, versus the Lift Gen 2 at a heftier 27.2 pounds, showcasing a noticeable difference in portability and handling. And before anyone protests, yes, I'm well aware the Gen 4 battery might offer a fairer comparison, but unfortunately, mine died 2 weeks ago, and Lift's supply is back-ordered until August. It would appear as though reliability is automatically factored into the integrity trials. And before complaining about the weights stated in this video differing from published specs, feel free and complain to this calibrated scale, for whom I've delegated this particular responsibility. Finally, one of my greatest curiosities today is the new flight controller. The throttle distance, responsiveness, and comfort have been lingering questions, and today I finally get to see how it truly performs. First impressions. As Stephan prepares to ride, we find Laura inadvertently demonstrating her superior skills as a door rather than a window, entirely blocking our view. Thankfully, the director of photography intervenes, and Laura graciously clears the frame. And then, inexplicably, turns off the camera. Well, luckily we already have a drone in the air, so we'll catch up to Stephan within his first 3 minutes into the ride. Notice the clock appearing on screen, counting upward from 0. This timer gives you, the audience, clear insight into how quickly Stephan adapts to the nuances of the Flite Ultra L2 and adjusts his riding style accordingly. Stephan's initial feedback is overwhelmingly positive. The board is intuitive and remarkably easy to ride, possibly the easiest he's ever encountered. Its smaller size and lighter weight compared to most other boards, including his beloved Lift4 Pro, undoubtedly play a significant role here. One immediate standout is the board's incredible lightness, resulting in minimal inertia, unlike heavier boards, which require intentional pushing into position. The Ultra L2 effortlessly follows the rider's movements. Hop slightly, and it instantly climbs from an inch above the water to its maximum altitude. Everything about its responsiveness feels instantaneous, almost digital, whereas the Lift4 Pro offers a more analog feel. As Stephan learns to wield the board's responsiveness, he notices that due to the small size of the deck, it requires him to use a midline stance almost entirely. Usually, whenever he rides a new board, he begins with a staggered stance until he gains enough confidence to utilize a riskier midline position. He notices that unlike his Lift4 Pro, the Ultra L2 requires significantly more fore and aft weight shifting to keep the board level. Often he feels the urge to step closer to the nose, to increase his weight, shifting beyond what is possible with his hips alone. Within the first 10 minutes, he becomes quite convinced that the Ultra L2 provides a highly specialized ride with a very specific goal in mind. This board was made to be very zippy, extremely nimble, and remarkably fast. It was clearly designed to win races by riders willing to push their limits to the extreme. By extreme, Stephan means the board is so light and powerful, it will easily flip backwards if you were to gun the throttle without counteracting the thrust by walking forward on the board. This requires riders to position themselves so far forward that many may feel uncomfortably close to the brink of catastrophic collapse should anything go wrong. It seems this was an intentional aspect of the board's design, as the padded foot grip extends almost to the very tip of the board. Observing professional racers like Justin Chait, you'll often catch glimpses of them nearly hanging 10, leveraging their entire body weight just to maintain a level ride as they speed toward the finish line. When Stephan mentions the board's lack of inertia, this is precisely what he means. All other boards he's ridden are considerably heavier, and this weight naturally stabilizes their pitch and tilt. The Ultra L2, with its significantly lower mass, demands the rider provide all counterbalancing. While ideal for those seeking ultimate responsiveness, Stephan believes many riders, perhaps even most, may lack the reaction time and balance required to masterfully wield this remarkable eFoil. This is not a board for beginners. Indeed, it isn't even a board suited for intermediate riders. The Ultra L2 is specifically crafted for those who seek the ultimate ride and are eager to challenge themselves by riding it exactly as it demands. If your aim is leisurely cruising around the lake, it's best to look elsewhere. This board isn't designed for casual rides any more than a Le Mans prototype endurance racer is intended for a relaxed Sunday drive. Stephan observed that while the board is incredibly responsive, capable of shifting height, position, or tilt instantaneously, it also feels responsively stiff. This stiffness may partly stem from the larger 1,000 square centimeter wing, and possibly from the jet propulsion system, But Stephan wonders if Lift's wings, with their more refined and robust camber profiles, contribute to Lift's smoother overall feel. As previously noted, Flite boards tend to feel more digital, an aspect not necessarily negative, but important for riders to consider when choosing their ideal eFoil. Every board exhibits its own personality, much like every rider's unique preferences influence their ideal experience. Everything about Lift emphasizes smoothness, from their throttle, offering a longer throw and greater speed control, to their wing design, quieter motor, and even their branding, which evokes an organic, zen-like appeal. Flite, conversely, caters to riders attracted to a futuristic, mechanized experience. The motor emits a significantly louder, high-pitched whine. The throttle length, though improved over earlier designs, remains considerably shorter than Lift's generous range, making speed control more binary, essentially faster or slower, rather than nuanced. When banking, Stephan noted the board locks into specific angles of attack, maintaining these angles firmly until the carve is complete. While beneficial for certain riding styles, this rigidity might leave some riders missing the natural rhythm or soul that Lift's smoother wings provide. Despite these distinctions, Stephan's experience with the Ultra L2 was far from lacking. As a highly technical rider, he found this board perfectly aligned with his riding style. For years, he sought a ride akin to wearing a wakeboard, something that feels like an extension of himself rather than a separate object. The Ultra L2 unquestionably fulfills that aspiration. You'll notice that as Stephan's ride passes the 10-minute mark, his confidence with the Ultra L2 has greatly increased. He's beginning to trust the board more, pushing the speed further, banking deeper, and taking greater risks. Stephan noted that the general behavior of the board feels surprisingly familiar, as if he'd ridden it long before, even predating his first eFoil experiences. He ponders if this familiarity arises from the board matching his expectations, or if it shares similarities with his wakeboarding background. It feels less like discovering something new, and more like reawakening an old memory. Though initially puzzled by this familiarity, Stephan now feels confident enough to challenge both himself and the Ultra L2 on the course. His approach feels natural, from lining up to launch. However, on his first gate approach, he encounters insufficient power to maintain his carve. Stephan attributes this directly to the jet propulsion system's lack of torque compared to fixed prop systems, especially evident during steep banking turns. As Stephan remounts, our drone pilot momentarily checks in on Laura, who's testing a Flite Pro. "Oh, look, she's flying." Well, briefly, it was a commendable effort in its own right, but quickly she reverts to a pace reminiscent of watching paint dry. The drone pilot, on the brink of critical monotony, briefly considers committing a desperation-induced kamikaze dive directly into something likely to explode. Thankfully for our drone and volatile targets within our airspace, Stephan is back up and flying. The drone pilot swiftly redirects attention to something less painful to witness. Continuing to explore the Ultra L2, Stephan contemplates how best to articulate his experience. While fully convinced of the board's high performance potential, especially with a refined wing and propulsion, he questions whether it suits his typical recommendation of smaller boards for learners due to the greater long-term rewards. Unlike Lift's smaller boards, which remain fundamentally similar to their larger counterparts, the Ultra L2 stands apart, designed with extreme specialization. It lacks standard features like rail handles, a realization Stephan made mid-carve when instinctively reaching for support. Though Stephan effortlessly planes the board and transitions swiftly from prone to kneeling or kneeling to gargoyle, he doubts a beginner could manage such agility. The responsiveness of the Ultra L2 operates on a different timescale. Where other boards respond over seconds, this board reacts in nanoseconds. Ideal for technical riders like Stephan, this responsiveness could overwhelm newcomers. Stephan concludes the Ultra L2 isn't suited as the sole board for families or groups with varied skill levels. It's a specialized piece meant for enthusiasts deeply passionate about eFoiling. This reflection prompts Stephan to consider carefully how to position the Ultra L2 within his recommendation framework, realizing that determining the ideal rider requires detailed knowledge of their experience, skills, and personality. Returning to the idea of matching a board's personality to the rider's preference, consider this metaphor. Riders who appreciate oil paintings, soft lighting, and organic shapes will likely gravitate towards Lift. Riders who prefer digital art, halogen lighting, and sleek synthetic materials will naturally lean towards Flite. To further illustrate, the high-pitched precision and instant responsiveness of a finely tuned Lotus Elise, the eagerness and body position used while riding a Kawasaki Ninja. These vehicles parallel the experience of a flight board. The low rumble and smooth, laid-back nature of a classic Harley Softail. This captures Lift's essence, its cyberpunk versus Steinbeck, earth tones versus neon, Bjork versus Daft Punk. In short, the Ultra L2 is undeniably specialized and thrilling, but ensure it matches your riding style and personal aesthetic before taking the plunge. It's not a question of which board is better, but rather who each board is better for. As we approach the 20-minute milestone, Stephan realizes he's experienced only one fall so far, significantly fewer than usual during initial board tests. Stephan admits he typically struggles more with larger, heavier boards, featuring bigger wings, boards that starkly contrast with his preferred Lift4 Pro. Usually, he rides aggressively, expecting immediate responsiveness, which often results in frequent falls. Impressively, the Ultra L2 meets his demanding expectations right from the start. Stephan begins contemplating the potential of the Ultra L2 with an upgraded propulsion system and an appropriately sized racing wing. He acknowledges that the current configuration likely represents the board's least optimal performance state. Yet, even with the jet drive, he's already notably impressed. Considering alternative setups, Stephan mentally scans Flite's wing catalog, but suddenly senses limitations he'd never encountered with Lift. Would he miss freestyle riding with his Camber Pro? Would Flite ever offer a wing as dynamic and exciting as Lift's Havoc series? Even subtle changes between Lift's 32 glide and 36 glide rear stabilizers significantly altered ride characteristics. Could he replicate the frictionless glide ratio of Lift's high-aspect wings with another platform? This line of thinking reminds Stephan of a conversation with Nick Leeson about the distinctive traits of Lift wings compared to other brands. During a debate on engineering choices, Nick confidently remarked, "Nobody's wings fly like mine." Stephan reflects that Nick's assertions holds true. Lift's wings offer unparalleled refinement and variety. No other eFoil company matches Lift's extensive wing and stabilizer options, and this diversity ultimately matters as much as having a lighter board. Stephan now questions if adopting the Ultra L2 would make it his everyday board, or if it would become reserved exclusively for when speed is the primary goal. Would he need to maintain two separate setups, charging different batteries for each? Would the Ultra L2 eventually replace his Lift rides, or would it coexist as a specialized addition to his riding repertoire? The reality is that even if Stephan stays loyal to Lift and upgrades to a Lift4 Pro, he'll need to adapt to a completely new battery and charging format. With Lift's decision, to move away from their long-standing battery design towards a lidless, wireless, direct contact battery system. Backward compatibility has effectively been abandoned. This transitional moment might actually be the ideal time to explore other platforms. Nick and his team at Lift have taken bold steps towards modernizing their boards with innovative, snap-in components that significantly expedite setup and breakdown times. However, in making these advancements, they've also turned their backs on past designs. Currently, Stephan owns a Lift2 Sport, a Lift3 Pro, and a Lift4 Pro. He finds himself concerned about future accessibility to replacement components. Notably, Lift seems to have discontinued their 32-inch mast entirely. Battery availability has always been a challenge with Lift. It's not uncommon to purchase a board and face weeks of waiting for the battery shipment to arrive. Stephan is particularly critical of the Lift Gen 4 batteries, which, in his experience, have been disappointing. He's already had 2 Gen 4 batteries fail prematurely, resulting in extended downtime while awaiting replacements. Thankfully, his previous generation batteries remain operational, enabling continuous riding. He imagines how frustrating this situation could be for a rider reliant on a single battery, losing precious riding time each season awaiting replacements. While the Lift 5 series undoubtedly introduces intriguing innovations, reducing weight clearly wasn't a priority. All Lift 5 boards are significantly heavier than their predecessors, with the sole exception being the new Lift X. Yet, even the Lift X appears primarily designed for ocean wave riding, rather than freshwater or flatwater conditions, potentially limiting its suitability for Stephan's preferred riding environment. Stephan wishes to avoid jumping to conclusions about the Lift 5 until he has ample opportunity for hands-on testing and an in-depth review. He's cautiously optimistic, acknowledging that the board might truly excel beyond his expectations. Stephan sincerely hopes that Lift will generously provide Verdant Ride with a demo unit, enabling a thorough evaluation and inclusion in the anticipated 2025 Verdant Ride Integrity Trials. Considering weights, it's worth noting that the Lift 5 Pro, while advanced in many features, has become noticeably heavier than its predecessors. The Lift X stands out as an exception, being lighter and specifically designed for wave riding. However, even the Lift X's weight and design don't quite match the Ultra L2's impressively low ride-ready total of just shy of 53 pounds, highlighting the Ultra L2's distinct advantage in lightweight performance and agility. As Stephan's ride on the Ultra L2 reaches the half-hour mark, his comfort and command of the board noticeably increase. He's confidently executing deep, successive S-turn carves, aggressively shifting his weight and pushing the boundaries of the board's agility. From the drone footage, one can clearly see his growing confidence as he maneuvers with fluidity and precision. Remarkably, even without his knee brace, Stephan finds maintaining his center of balance over the board's midline remarkably easy. Although he occasionally experiences minor instability, typically due to overextending himself during aggressive maneuvers, he finds these moments easily recoverable, allowing him to continue his ride without interruption. This brings us naturally to a crucial discussion: breaching. Thanks to the Ultra L2's unique design, with the prop positioned very low on the mast and the rear stabilizer set even lower, prop breaches occur very infrequently. Moreover, when breaches do happen, recovery is notably manageable. Stephan deliberately tested the limits, seeing how high he could lift the board while maintaining control. Even when intentionally breaching the prop, he discovered the stabilizer's small but effective profile remained submerged, significantly aiding in smooth re-entry and restoring stability with minimal disruption. Stephan is particularly enthusiastic about further exploring the high-altitude capabilities facilitated by Flite's innovative mast and prop placement design. especially concerning high-altitude banking maneuvers. The Ultra L2 continues to impress, hinting at untapped potential. Stephan eagerly anticipates exploring further. Now that Stephan's confidence and understanding of the Ultra L2's handling have significantly increased, he's prepared to make another attempt at the slalom course. There's a noticeable shift in energy, body poised, board humming with anticipation. The wake behind him splits smooth and steady as he leans into the arc, lining himself up for the gate. He knows what's coming: the course, the sprint, the turn precision. And now, it's time to ride. Just as Stephan slices through the starting gate, the timer begins. At just under 5 seconds, he reaches the first buoy with impressive control. By 10 seconds, he's already completed the first offset S-turn around the second buoy and shifts into a strong forward stance, accelerating hard toward the far point of the course. Exactly 25 seconds in, Stephan rounds the furthest buoy with a tight, powerful carve. The board bites cleanly into the water as he transitions into a full-throttle sprint on the return leg. As he nears the dock, he remains crouched low, trimming his trajectory with subtle, precise movements. The camera cuts close just as he crosses the finish. Final time: just under 42.5 seconds. While not his personal record for this course, it's an incredibly respectable time, especially given that Stephan has logged only a little over 30 minutes of experience on this board. The fact that he's within 2 seconds of his best time on a course he's run countless times on his Lift4 Pro is impressive. This moment doesn't just reflect natural talent or familiarity with the water. It reveals just how intuitive and responsive the Ultra L2 can be when pushed. It's a sign that Stephan is beginning to unlock the true performance potential of this board, and it signals to viewers that the story of the Ultra L2 is just getting started. After finishing the slalom course, Stephan spends the rest of the battery charge continuing to explore the Ultra L2's handling through a wide range of freestyle maneuvers. With renewed confidence, he dives deep into his testing, focusing on dynamic performance and fine motor control. He pulls off sweeping high-speed carves, slow and technical S-turns, and foil-pumping transitions with quick altitude shifts. Each movement is an opportunity to understand how the board reacts, where it shines, and where its edges begin to show. At 38 minutes into the ride, Stephan notes that the battery still shows 35% remaining. This is a rare benchmark for him. On his Lift4 Pro, rides usually cap out at 28 to 30 minutes, often ending with around 20% battery remaining. That means he's already surpassed his average ride duration by a full 10 minutes and still has range left in the tank. As the battery depletes further, Stephan begins to feel a gradual reduction in thrust. Combined with the already limited torque of the jet propulsion system, this drop in power makes precision carving harder. The board becomes more difficult to stabilize in sharp turns, and as a result, Stephan begins to wipe out more frequently in these later stages of the ride. He acknowledges that some of these falls may also be attributed to fatigue. Riding hard for nearly 50 continuous minutes, significantly longer than his typical eFoil session, is pushing even his endurance. This extended duration, however, offers a unique and valuable experience. It's rare that Stephan is able to test a board for this long on a single charge without needing to pit and swap batteries. The fact that the Ultra L2 has managed this with a noticeably smaller battery than his Lift4 Pro setup only adds to the board's growing list of impressive features. Finally, at 48 minutes in, with the battery at 15% and fatigue catching up, Stephan calls it. He coasts gently toward the shore, body tired, but mind fully engaged. As the board hums across the glassy surface on its final approach, Stephan's thoughts race through everything he's just experienced. The handling, the balance, the thrust, the digital feel, the responsiveness, the propulsion limitations, and the pure joy of discovering something new and powerful. He begins organizing these reflections, already thinking of how best to translate this experience for his audience. And evidently, he succeeded, because if you've made it this far, you've just heard every thought, every moment, and every observation from Stephan's first real ride on the Flite Ultra L2. And this is just the beginning. Stephan wants to say thank you to his audience for their patience, as they've all waited way too long for this review. There's a lot more to show, and a lot more to discuss about this awesome ride from Flite. But this video is already getting critically long, so we'll conclude for now with this comparison racing footage. Our next episode will feature an interview with Glide Watersports, the Flite dealer, that made this review possible. Till then, enjoy the race comparison footage of a somewhat fatigued Stephan trying to readjust to his older and much heavier ride. So goodbye for now from everyone here at Verdant Ride, eFoil news, reviews, and advice.